Hey everybody, in this mini series, we're going to be tackling this project, A House in the Woods by William Reue Architects. So this project's pretty cool. It's basically located in this hilly area, surrounded by trees, lots of nature. I think it's perfect for the new 2.9 update that brings in terrain, so we can actually model all this. And it's a nice, simple project. See what it looks like up front. And this is the rear. So some really nice materials, but also a really nice way for us to try out all the terrain materials. So as always, I've got a SketchUp model for you in the description, so feel free to download that, and let's get started. So I've opened up a fresh version of D5. Because I'm on 2.9, I'm going to get the terrain here, so that's why this may look a little different. So first things first, let's import that SketchUp model. All right, I double click this, and it's going to load. Then I'm going to drag it out. I click this, and up to you if you want this to just be random or you want to sync coordinates. One thing I will say, if we look at the reference photos, you see how it's kind of perched a little bit higher and there's a bunch of stairs. We do want this to be a little bit higher. So what I'm going to do is go back to D5, and after I've synced everything, I'm just going to move it a little bit higher, and we're going to build the terrain to meet the house. Up to you how high you want to go. If you did a sync, you can match my coordinates like this. But now that I've got this, I'm going to work on the terrain. I'm basically going to bump this up so it's not floating. So to do that, go over to your outliner, click terrain, and now you're going to get all these sculpt tools. So in the sculpt tools, there's a couple of cool things. Right now, you'll notice that the color of the ground is like this grasslands. And if you remember the project we're working on, it's basically snowy, right? So what we could do is actually go right here and change the color template. So you can go with something like this, Snowland 1, and it's going to apply all the materials. So your snow, the slope, and everything, that's going to be here. And now because we did that, we have all these different brushes. So like if I want, I could click this and then hit paint and notice how I'm getting a different texture. So that's the benefit of doing this. And you can do it for a variety of different areas, forests, dunes, beaches. So pretty nifty there. So now let's go back to sculpt, and there's a couple ways of handling this. You could use like one of these brushes, something like hill. So let me just search for this. And I've got a couple options. I could do hill 4, and watch this. Right now, it's not going to make any sense, right? Because it's super, super big, right? But I do like all the variations we're getting. So what you could do is actually just hit V and scale it. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to scale it some more. So once you scale it, you can actually lower the height map. So what I want to do is just increase this a bit and then lower this some more. So now I basically got like all this detail really, really quickly. If you don't want to do it this way, you could absolutely go here and brush. But let me show you a comparison. If I grab this and I start brushing it, see how it doesn't look as good as that? I could definitely like spend the time to make it look like that, but it's gonna take a lot longer. So, you know, up to you what you want to do, but I find just using those stamps and just scaling it down and then playing with the height, really easy way to tackle this. So I'm just going to look around. Overall, it looks like it's all correct. And the nice part about this is it does support painting. So if I want to just paint, say this on here, that will come through. So it's not like you're locked out of this. And you can obviously combine the two, right? So I can actually sculpt on top of this as well. Okay. So if you were doing it manually, you know, sculpt up, and then you can use this to smooth it out like this, or to flatten everything, kind of like a plateau. Okay, cool. I think in general, we'll probably raise up the back a bit just so we can add some trees and some height, but overall, you get the idea. That took no time at all. So now that we did that, let's just set up a scene so we could easily go back to it. I'm gonna click this. That way, when I move around, I could just go here and it will load that. Okay, and let's also make sure we're saving. One of the reasons it's important you save early on is if this were to crash, you can actually load up an autosave version of this file. So how that works is you can actually go to File and then View Version History. Since it hasn't autosaved yet, there's nothing here, but nice little hack there. Okay, so now that we've got that, let me change the position of the sun so I can actually see the front of my building. Again, you always want to see your materials in light. So let's go to the reference, and it looks like we've got like a metal panel here, some bricks here, and like a dark metal here, and a dark metal for our window frames. So nothing too crazy. Here's a close-up of that. I'm gonna go over to assets. I'm gonna switch over to material. And I found this really nice terracotta panel. This guy right here, check this out. So one of the reasons I like this is look at all the detail we've got here. I know right now it's tiling, but we'll fix that. But you can see we've got a nice normal map here. We've got nice variation everywhere. So let's just fix it so it doesn't look horrible. So I'm gonna lower this so it could be that grayish color. But you see how that weathering's kind of built in? That's really nice. I'm gonna turn on round corner. That way we get nice round corners around the edges here. Just tighten it to 2. And right now you'll notice that I can't triplanar it. It's because I'm on the displacement template. I need to change this to custom. I'm okay with losing the displacement template because I really don't need that much variation. It's just a metal panel, right? So once I do that, then I can do triplanar, and that's gonna fix a lot of my mapping here. See how much better that looks? So since this is a metal panel, I'm gonna give it a little bit of metalness, not too much, a little. And I could give it slightly more roughness. That way it shines a little bit more. So you see how the edges are glowing here? You could also do the UV randomizer, but one thing I noticed is when you click it, kind of hard to see, but look at this. You see how it adds these hexagons? Basically how they're masking all the seams. I'm not a big fan of it, especially due to the scale. So I've been keeping that off if I notice that. But overall, this is a good size. You could play with the stretch a little bit more if you want. 0.5 seems pretty safe. So let's move on. Let's talk about the bricks here. The bricks, it's like a thin stack, very, very long. Let's search for brick, and it's kind of gray. So let's go with this guy. And if you remember, I said it was kind of like thin and long. So a little trick here when it comes to the scaling. Let's nail the overall scale first. I'll make this 0.5. You can actually break the stretch so it's not uniform. So if I make this 0.1, you see how it's scaling. I know that was a little exaggerated, but that's one way to make it scale that way. And I kind of like the look of this. That's pretty cool. Happy with that. Let's add some round corner as always. And now let's add a black metal for our window frames. Let's go assets. We'll go down to metal. Remove your search, of course. I'm gonna go with this black metal. I know this is super shiny, but we're gonna wind up changing the roughness anyways. Let's raise the roughness. That way it's not so shiny. It's metallic, that's good. I wanna zoom in a little bit just to see if there's any texture. There's a little bit. Let me shrink that a bit. Yeah, really tough to see if there's any texture here. Yeah, there's a little bit. Okay, I'm okay with 0.1 then. I think I might just rotate the normal a bit. Oh, it's going vertical. Okay, cool. So now we've got that. Let's get our round corner on. And it's still a little too reflective. I can tell that because it's picking up that white, which isn't great. So I'm just gonna raise that a bit. Perfect. And I can just darken it right there. Perfect. All right, so now that I've got that, I can actually copy it over here and do like a light gray. So to copy, you could do duplicate right here, paste, and let's just lighten this up. There we go. Okay, there we go. And here we can see the stretch a little bit better. Let me get this fixed. Okay, I'm having the normal match that. I'll leave that at 2. Good. And we'll do our round corner and everything. All right, so then here, what do we have here? I believe this is like a decking. I can't tell exactly, but that's what we're gonna make it. So let's go to wood, and you know what, let's go wood flooring. Yeah, I'll grab one of these guys. Okay, perfect. Up to you if you want to rotate it to go that way. To me, it doesn't really matter. I might just play around with the stretch. Yeah, I'll do 0.5. All right, that's good. All right, perfect. We've got that. All right, so the front is pretty much good. Let's just tweak the glass a little bit. So I'm gonna go to glass, and I always look for normal glass. This guy. All right, so with the glass, it's tough to tune until you actually have like the lighting and the details in here. We're not gonna be doing the interior, but I am gonna just make everything like a white plaster. Then we're gonna drop in a parallax interior and then tune the lights to basically determine how shiny the glass should be. So let's place this here. I'm just gonna make this white because paint is usually white. I'm gonna duplicate this around. Okay, you could put in a wood floor material. That's totally fine. Grab something here. Yeah, this looks good. So I'll grab that and I'll paste that there. Perfect. Okay, so now let's drop in that parallax interior and you'll see what I mean. We're gonna do residential parallax, right? And now I want to find something that's kind of long that looks like a living room, a bedroom. You could do one big long one, or you could do like different rooms. Totally up to you. There are a couple of rooms here, so really up to you. But just to show you how that works is you place it, you rotate it, you place it in behind the glass, and now you've got faked interiors. So you'll see my plane isn't as big as like the whole house. So what I could do is switch to V and scale it up. But if I scale too high, everything's going to look way too big. So this is where you break your size right here, and then you can just stretch that way. So this is one way of doing it, or you could do these small little ones for each space. Doesn't matter to me. You do whatever you like best. Then I'm going to save here. So now that I have this in here, I can play with the lighting a bit if I want this to glow a little bit, but we don't want to overdo it. So let's leave it at 15. I do like the amount of reflections we're getting here. I think this looks good from far away. So the next thing we want to tackle in this episode is just the trees around here and the rocks. We've got a bunch of these like tall dead trees and a bunch of rocks. And we also have some like dead grass here as well. So what I recommend here, controversial opinion here, I would not scatter, okay? The reason I would not scatter is because of the terrain tool right now. You see right here, you see that little line? This is how much we would be scattering, okay? This is an insane amount to cover. It's very slow to load all that up. I've even had it crash a couple times trying to record this before. So we're just gonna brush the trees in. We'll do trees first, rock second, and then we could do like little grass details, and then we'll paint a little bit more on the terrain, and then should be good for this part. Let me show you how to do that. Let's go over here to tools and hit brush, okay? And now what I recommend is actually switching down and going to dead trees. I'm going to click all these guys. You can only have 6, so pick your favorite. Okay, I've got 4 there. You can also put stumps in if you want. Again, totally up to you, but I recommend doing this in groups, okay? Because you're only limited to 6. So when it comes to brushing, there's a couple things you need to pay attention to. It's the radius. So the radius is like your paintbrush, like how big that is, and then the density. I always like to go lower on the density because I don't want to go too crazy, right? So I always do like a quick test. I'll just click and we'll see what we're getting. So we got a couple of trees here. All right, I actually feel good about that. So I'm just going to keep painting. Okay. And what I like to do is after I do like a full round, I go in and I play with the size a bit, and then I even play with the random size some more. So watch this. Now when I do that, I'm gonna have some variation, which is really nice because that's, you know, what makes things realistic, right? Because if everything was samey, it's not gonna look too good. Okay, I'm gonna lower my radius a bit and lower the size a bit. Again, we're just building up layers here. Because the idea is when we come down here, we want to see a lot of these trees in the background. So I need to increase the overall size and the density, just to meet what we're seeing here. Like this is very tall. So I'm going to boost this some more. There we go. And I'm going to lower the random size. There we go. Okay. And I'm just flying around doing that. Great. So now when I go down here, look at that. Those are those trees. So now what I could do, if I think these are a little too low, I could use my terrain to basically sculpt it up. So generally you should do this before, but it's always tough to like know if you've done it correctly, just because you got to see it. So what we could do, let's save, go to terrain, and I'm just going to sculpt a little bit more right here. Okay, and I'm going to increase my size a bit. And I just want this area to be a little bit taller. Okay. And because this isn't scatter, it's not going to automatically increase the height. So that's why I was saying like it's better you do this before, but you wouldn't know until, you know, you actually do it. So it's no big deal. You can actually just click this and you can go right here to apply to eraser. And you can literally just delete that. Takes no time at all. So no biggie there. And now I can switch to paint. There we go. Much better. You can bring them in closer too. Really, really up to you. Because again, this is literally in a forest. Awesome. All right. So I said we're doing this in 3 parts. That was our first pass. That was on the trees. Now let's do the rocks. So I'm going to go repeat. I'm going to go brush. I'm going to remove all these guys. But before you do, one thing I want to point out, let's say you really like this brush preset. You can actually just go right here to add preset, and then you could save it to your local library. So that way you don't have to remake this. So for this, I'll probably do that. I'm just going to save this, and I'm going to call this like dead trees. And you could be organized and put it in a folder, but I'm just going to leave it there. And then if I ever want to reactivate that, literally just click that under my studio, and then I can paste it, which is really handy. So I X out of that, and I'm going to delete all this. I'm going to go down to stone, and I'm not going to do pebbles. Pebbles are too small, right? That's like something for the beach. Nature rocks is where we'll be. And if you're curious, landscape stones, these are a little weird. I don't know where you'd ever use these, so we're not going to use them. We'd use nature rocks. And then if you're curious what snow is, it's actually just like pieces of snow. It's kind of nifty, but anyways, not for this tutorial. So I want to find rocks that look like this. So they're kind of like round, tall. They're like bigger stones, right? Okay, so I like this guy, and I'm just shopping around. I like this guy, I like this guy. We're looking for like this kind of shape. Okay, and now 2 more. I like this, and I like this. Okay, so like before, what I like to do is just do a test to see the density. So if I click that, I can tell that this asset is like way too big because I also do have size open. So I don't like him. He's a little too much. Let's remove these guys. I think it was this guy up here. Just make sure that gets picked up. And we don't want him. Okay. So that's why I do that test at first, just to see the overall size. So I'm going to grab this guy. And now let's try. Okay, good. So we're getting some small ones. I can now boost the overall size and random size. Okay. Maybe lower the density a bit. But you see what I mean? It's going to take a couple clicks until you actually get, what you want. I'm going to increase the size. There we go. So I'm going to go somewhere over here. Perfect. Okay, and I'm just going to... Ooh, way too much. That's what happens when you're zoomed out. All right, let's go back. Let's erase this. We got a little too crazy there. Okay, and let's go back to paint. Oh no, it's everywhere. All right, let's delete this. Bam. Okay. All right, let's try that again. Let's lower our density. And so basically, if you hold down your cursor, it's going to do that. So I'm just doing clicks. You could probably hear. All right, great. Great. Got that. Let's add some more here. And I can do that there as well. And so if I didn't save it as a preset, it's not like it's a big deal, because watch, I hit X. This is going to be under brush history, and then I can just add it to my brush there. So it's not a big deal if you didn't do that step before, but just pointing out the options, because that's why we're here, right? So next thing is like dead grass assets. So let's see what we've got here. I go assets, and we could do some fallen leaves. We could do, yeah, because it's like wintry. It's like a wintry mix. Yeah, you see how there's like all this stuff here. Let's do that. Let's grab some. No, let me clear all. You can do that so you erase all of them instead of going one by one. And now I'm gonna look for grass. See if we can find something that kind of like pokes out. Yeah, this one's not bad. This one's not bad either. It looks kind of dead. Same thing with this. Okay. You could also, if you want, add some stumps. I drop the S. Yeah, you've got these guys. You also have logs as well. So I'm going to lower my density, right? Do a couple clicks. Okay, the size is still way too high. So let's erase that. Go back, lower our size. Okay, good. That's much better. Okay. Stump is coming up a lot, so I'm just going to delete him. And I want to switch to more like grass stuff, because that's actually been working really well. The grass and the leaves look pretty good. Who else can we grab? Yeah, this guy's good. Perfect. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And then once we paint a little bit more, yeah, here I went a little crazy, but I kind of like it. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Gonna increase the size, increase the random. Yeah, once we paint the snow in a little bit more, we'll have even more variation. Okay. Okay, great. All right, this is looking great. This is pretty detailed. So the last thing on this was, you remember there's like these steps here. So depending on how high you made your little hill, what I recommend is actually grabbing some stairs. There's this nice stone asset. Yeah, you can literally just grab this and then just sink it into the earth if you want, depending on, you know, how high everything is. But overall, I'm happy with this. So again, on this part, we're just going to focus on this image right here. So let's set up our camera. I'm going to click this guy, enter camera mode, and let's do something like this. This looks good. Could probably add some more trees there. That's what we're seeing here. But I'll do my depth of field. We'll select our building, right? We'll add the blur. That way this gets blurred out. I could even come closer. Do 7. I'll hit escape. I'll update this. Let's do our 2 point, and we'll do 16:9. And let's see, time of day. Yeah, this is a little later. You know, we could do something a little moodier. So let's go to HDRI. We want something kind of cloudy. Oh, that's kind of fun. And I recommend checkmarking sun and follow the HDRI. That way, you always want your like shadows to come in on a 45-degree angle. That way it adds some visual interest and you're basically leading your eyes. But this is what I was saying about the light before, about the parallax interior. You don't want it to be like too bright, so we can actually tune that a little bit. So let me just lower that. Okay, and then go back here. All right, great. Sun disk radius, we want to soften that. 6 is fine. We can add a little bit of fog if we want. For the background, yep. All right, this is looking pretty good. Maybe we add some height. Yep, you see how it's appearing over there. And let's take another look. Yeah, we could probably add more density of trees just to fill that out. But this is looking good. So let me just save this. And let's get back into tree mode real quick. So I'm going to click these trees. And if you remember what I was saying earlier, you could either save the brush or just hit apply to brush. And now I can repaint these trees. So that should fix the density issue I was talking about. Okay. That'll fill in nicely. Okay, great. And now let's go back. Yeah, much, much better. And if you want, you could probably go the next step and like add some precipitation. So you see what's happening. I know it's raining, right? But you see what's happening. It's actually adding to these assets. So if I go to snow, now I'm getting a little bit of snow on everything. So it's going to help blend everything a little bit better. So big fan of that. And you can control the strength of everything, how big these snowflakes are. So I think this looks great. I'm happy with this. I'm going to save this. And then let's render it and see what comes out. I go 4K, 16:9. I don't need any channels, and I'll hit render. Now that I'm seeing this, we didn't do this material yet because that's like part 2. So maybe I just darken this. So let me hop out real quick, because that kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. You know, you could, skip ahead and like find a material, but I'm gonna lower that so that's not as bright. And then I'll probably play with the reflections just a little bit. So I make that 0.3, so it's not 100% see-through. And then there's plenty of trees there. Yep, just picking up the reflection here. All right, let's go back. And now let's render for real. Okay, 16:9, 4K, and we'll see what happens. So one thing I'll say, since this is an outdoor scene, really up to you guys how much time you want to spend like painting things. I know I was kind of rushing, but I want to show you like how to do this stuff. We could paint all day, but I think that's really like where the art side of this comes through. Like if you have the time and you want to add more detail, totally go ahead. But my point is, like, in a very quick period of time, less than half an hour, we were able to go from like flat terrain with no model imported to what should be a really nice rendering. So again, the terrain tools are really, really good. I do hope they make scatter a little bit more performant on these really large scenes. But for now, I think brush is like an easy way to go, especially for like the passes we did with like the tree pass and the rocks and the grass pass. I think that makes a lot of sense. All right, cool. I'm gonna hit open folder to view that, and I'll also queue up a post AI update. So if you haven't seen this yet, so in 2.9 they updated the enhancer. They're now calling it AI post processing or post AI. And what you can do here is run the enhancer like we have been doing, but you could also do a style transfer. Meaning, if you don't want it to be photorealistic and you want it to be watercolor, you could do that. That's what this guy's for. So you can make it like cartoon or sketchy. So just to show you what that looks like, let's go with a marker drawing. And we'll just hit style transfer. And then the other thing you could do is also a realistic style transfer, which is kind of cool. So we could also play with the winter one here and see what that does. So we'll do a couple different options here. A watercolor, the realistic winter, and then we'll just do a regular AI enhancer. But the image, as you can see here, looks pretty good. I think I could probably tweak the reflections of the glass overall, but I do like how the parallax is coming through. I like the snow and everything. This looks really nice. I'm pretty happy with these results. We could definitely tune it further, but I think the enhancer is gonna be able to do a lot of lifting here. And I want to see if it can actually queue up things now. We hit apply transfer. Ooh, that's kind of nice. So now we have a queue. All right, cool. So here we go. We've got our queue of watercolor, winter, and then regular enhancer. So here is the watercolor one coming through. So this is pretty fun. I mean, it's not as like wintry as before, but let's say like we didn't have the time to like tune all of our materials and we just need to get an image out to a client. It's pretty beautiful. Like, I like this a lot. I'm pretty happy with this. I definitely want to play with the other ones and see like what other effects there are, but overall, I think that one's super cool. This is the winter one. Oh, wow. That's kind of crazy. So I'm kind of like blown away. I mean, it definitely looks a lot more realistic. That's crazy. And it did add like a lot of mood, but it did like add a lot of snow. But again, I didn't like tune anything when it came to the setting, but like the lighting looks really cool. That's crazy. It did a lot to this image. That is cool. And then this is our regular version, just upscaled, which if I zoom in, you can see it added a lot of nice details here. Yeah, this is awesome. So that's cool. And this is what I mean about tuning settings. So like I can change like how much it affects it. I could do the same thing when it comes to the style. So I said here, yeah, here we go. So the style transfer was at 0.6 for the winter scene. If I lowered this, let's say to 0.3, and I increased my structure a bit more, it'd probably preserve more. So let me do that. Let's queue that up. But overall, like this is super cool. Like this is huge time saver. You know how I was saying before, like you could spend more time placing assets. This is probably a way to save you time so you don't have to. So keep that in mind. Let's see what other ones they've got here. I wonder how good the night is. And yeah, we'll do 0.5 so we could do some extra weight there. So this is the revised winter one. So we lowered the weight, and I feel like this looks much better because we're getting all the grass here. So I would definitely change the weight a little bit more if you find that it's not matching your image, but this is huge. This looks really nice. You know, our upscaled image looks great too, but I feel like it adds like a lot more detail that you probably wouldn't be able to achieve like through rendering. Like this kind of has like a matte painting look to it. So I'll download these and then I'll show you what all of them look like full screen. And we can, you know, you could definitely compare. And then this is the night version. This is really cool. So like, I know there's a bunch of fireflies everywhere, but like as an image, pretty beautiful. I'm pretty impressed. I think the snowflakes got turned into fireflies, and that's why that happened. But anyways, these are beautiful. So I'll download these and then drop them in the folder so you could see them full size. Anyways, that's it for this episode. The next one, we'll tackle the rear of the project, and I'll talk about how to change the materials. We'll model the driveway and everything. So anyways, if you like this video, please like, subscribe. See you next time.